They were about to walk straight into the heart of a nuclear meltdown. Radiation on the reactor roof was so intense, it literally fried the circuits of the advanced robots they sent up to clear the debris. Buses came, and in 3 hours, the entire city of Pripyat was empty. It is one of the most toxic things humanity has ever created. He was a firefighter. He showed up thinking it was just another blaze, just another job to do. But in that moment, he had no idea he was standing at ground zero of an invisible war. Within just a few weeks, he'd be gone, one of the very first victims of a killer he never even saw. So what really happened on April 26, 1986? Well, it wasn't just an accident. It was a perfect storm. A chain reaction of terrible mistakes, fatal design flaws, and some absolutely devastating secrets. This is the story of how it all fell apart. Okay, let's go there. It's 1:26 in the morning. The fire alarms are screaming. For the first crews rolling up to the scene, it just looks like a fire on the roof of the power plant. A big one for sure, but a fire nonetheless. They had no idea they were about to walk straight into the heart of a nuclear meltdown. You have to understand, the disconnect from reality here was just absolute. These brave men were trying to fight a nuclear fire with water, a fire so hot it would burn for more than 10 days straight. And within hours, they started feeling it. The nausea, the exhaustion, a strange metallic taste in their mouths. For 28 of them, that was it. A death sentence, delivered in the first few moments of them just trying to help. So how did we get here? How does a brand new, state-of-the-art power plant turn into a radiological weapon pointed at the whole world? To figure that out, we have to rewind the clock 24 hours and head inside control room number 4 for a supposedly routine safety test. The test itself was actually pretty logical, at least on paper. The idea was, hey, if the power goes out, the backup diesel generators take about a minute to fire up. The question was, for that critical 1-minute gap, could the spinning turbines coast on their own momentum and keep the vital cooling water pumps running? Simple enough, right? But they tried this before and it failed. This time, after a huge delay, a tired, unprepared crew was determined to finally get it done. In this timeline, this is where everything just starts to go off the rails. The power drops way, way too low, choked by a nuclear byproduct called xenon-135. So to fight this, the operators pull out nearly all of the control rods, the reactor's brakes. This was a massive violation of safety rules. The reactor was now incredibly unstable, like a car with no brakes hurtling downhill. When the power surged, they panicked, and they hit the emergency shutdown button. And that's when the absolute unthinkable happened. The man pushing everyone forward, the man in charge, was Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov. From every account we have, he was arrogant, stubborn, and he bullied his team into ignoring every single safety protocol. The operators knew the reactor was in a dangerous state, but Dyatlov's ambition just bulldozed right over every warning sign. He wanted this test done no matter what. But hang on a second, how on earth does an emergency shutdown button cause an explosion? I mean, it's the ultimate paradox, right? The big red button that's supposed to save you is the one that destroys everything. Well, this wasn't just human error. This was a catastrophic failure baked right into the design of the reactor itself, a fatal secret the operators never knew. See, the reactor at Chernobyl was an RBMK-1000. It was a Soviet workhorse designed to be powerful and cheap, but it had this dark secret. Under certain, very specific conditions, it was dangerously unstable. And the men in that control room that night, they had just accidentally created those exact conditions. Let's think of it like this, because the car analogy works really well. The nuclear fuel is the engine. The graphite in the reactor, that's the gas pedal. It makes the reaction go faster. And the boron control rods, those are the brakes. They slow everything down. On that night, the operators had pulled out almost all the brakes, and the gas pedal was basically slammed to the floor. And this was the fatal flaw. When they hit that emergency shutdown button, the control rods, the brakes, started going back into the reactor. But, and this is the crazy part, the tips of those rods were made of graphite, the gas pedal. So for a few horrifying seconds, as the rods went in, they actually sped up the reaction before slowing it down. The power spiked to over 100 times its normal level. The water coolant flashed to steam, pressure built, and a massive explosion blew the 1,000-ton lid clean off the reactor. That explosion released a plume of radioactive material that was 400 times greater than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And as this invisible poison cloud began to drift across Europe, what was the Soviet government's first instinct? It wasn't to warn its citizens. It was to hide the truth. For a day and a half, 36 hours, the 50,000 residents of Pripyat, the city right next door, just went about their lives. They had absolutely no idea the air they were breathing, the ground their kids were playing on, was lethally contaminated. That's how long the government waited before even starting the evacuation. The scale of the cover-up is it's hard to wrap your head around. They lied to their own people and they lied to the world. Doctors were actually forbidden from diagnosing radiation sickness. Witnesses were silenced by the KGB. They even went ahead with a huge May Day parade in nearby Kyiv, exposing thousands of people to fallout, all just to keep up the appearance that everything was fine. But here's the thing about a radioactive cloud. It doesn't respect borders. 2 days later, workers at a nuclear plant in Sweden started setting off radiation alarms. They couldn't figure out why. They traced the wind patterns all the way back to the Soviet Union. And once they were caught, Moscow finally admitted a minor accident had happened. The lie was falling apart. So now the world knows. And the Soviet Union is faced with an open, burning reactor core, just spewing radiation into the atmosphere. They had to launch the biggest, most dangerous cleanup operation in human history. And to do it, they mobilized an army. They were called the liquidators. Over 500,000 men, we're talking soldiers, miners, engineers, truck drivers, were sent straight into the disaster zone. Their job was to contain the uncontainable. They dug tunnels under the melting reactor, they washed radioactive dust off entire cities, and they faced tasks that were, frankly, a death sentence. Get this. The radiation on the reactor roof was so intense, it literally fried the circuits of the advanced robots they sent up to clear the debris. So when the machines failed, what did they do? They sent in humans. They called them biorobots. These men would run out onto the roof for just 40 to 90 seconds, throw one shovel of radioactive graphite over the edge, and run back. They were saving the world one shovel at a time and absorbing horrific doses of radiation while doing it. Now look at these numbers. It tells you everything you need to know about the cover-up. The official Soviet death toll, that tiny little bar on the right, is just 31. 31 people. Now compare that to the bar on the left. Over 600,000 liquidators who are exposed. The true human cost? Well, it's a number we'll probably never know for sure, but it is vastly, vastly greater than 31. The fire was eventually put out. The reactor was sealed inside a giant concrete sarcophagus. But the story, it doesn't end there. The legacy of Chernobyl is written into the land, into the economy, and into the bodies of people all across Europe. A legacy that will last for tens of thousands of years. Can you imagine being told to pack a small bag just for 3 days? The buses came, and in 3 hours, the entire city of Pripyat was empty. People left their pets, their photos, their whole lives behind, truly believing they would be back soon. They never returned. Today, it's a ghost city, a place frozen in 1986, and it's this haunting monument to the disaster. And the cost? I mean, it's just astronomical. The economic damage alone was $250 billion. Then you have to add in the new $3 billion structure they had to build over the crumbling old one. But you know what? The political fallout might have been the greatest cost of all. The disaster exposed the absolute rot at the heart of the Soviet system, the lies, the secrecy, the total disregard for human life. Mikhail Gorbachev himself later said that Chernobyl was maybe the true cause of the Soviet Union's collapse. So after all this, you might be wondering, what is the single most dangerous thing left behind? Well, the answer lies deep in the guts of that ruined reactor, in a place very few people have ever seen. It's called the Elephant's Foot. It's this 2-meter-wide mass of what they call corium, a lava-like soup of melted nuclear fuel, concrete, sand, and anything else it consumed on its way down. It is one of the most toxic things humanity has ever created. When they first found it, spending just 5 minutes in the same room with it would kill you. And that is the most haunting truth of all. Even today, shielded from the world under billions of dollars of steel, deep in the pitch black of that ruined building, the Elephant's Foot is still hot. It's still radioactive, and it will be for the next 20,000 years, a permanent, lethal scar on our planet.